Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the Harrogate series. Harrogate is a large borough, one of the 11 districts of North Yorkshire. It's got 139 civil parishes. Which one are we in this episode? Welcome back to Harrogate again, everybody. Now, you remember in the last episode we saw them fantastic views across the Wharfe Valley. Well, here in this village we're probably going to get more of the same, because I'm standing here at a playground and all you can see at the moment is a tree, but if I tilt the camera this way slightly, you can see the Wharfe Valley over there between those two trees, and we've got to walk along that road you can see in front of us into the village centre. So on the left hand side there's going to be a great view. There's going to be a great view. I'm going to be enjoying this thoroughly. Welcome to the parish of Kirkby Overblow. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like, and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Kirkby Overblow, church village of the Oreblowers. This was a fun one. Welcome to Kirkby Overblow, a lovely place situated between Wetherby and Harrogate and to the west of Sicklinghall. In January 2023, the Daily Telegraph, based on research by Savills, listed Kirkby Overblow as one of Britain's 54 poshest villages. That's quite the title. I have to say though, having walked around it, that might not be totally inaccurate. The first written reference to Kirkby Overblow appears in the Domesday Book, where it appears as Cherchebi. Once a Viking settlement, the Kirkby part of its name is a common prefix, simply meaning a settlement by a church. Overblow has confused scholars for some years, but the most common explanation for that points to the village's industrial past. Overblow is a corruption of Oreblow, and Oreblowing is an iron smelting process. There was also a settlement nearby called Tudor, where St Wilfrid, the Bishop of York, is said to have performed a miracle. It was later subsumed into Kirkby Overblow and was possibly deserted in the 14th century. Kirkby Overblow is perhaps most famous for its holy wells. The one everyone talks about is St Helen's Well at the back of the churchyard. So let's not waste any time, let's go for a walk. We start our walk around this very historic village at Wharfe View in the southeast of civilization. This is a modern and rather well-kept play area located off that street, which also features an iron beacon. I couldn't help but notice the top of this is made of horseshoes, a clear indication of Kirkby Overblow's historic association with ironworking. Wharfe View is an apt name too. From this street you can see for miles over the Wharfe Valley. Fun fact, if you looked roughly east-northeast from Kirkby Overblow, the Ural Mountains in Russia are the tallest landmarks between here and Siberia. The main road at this point is called Barrowby Lane, which runs to the village centre, where it meets the church, the two pubs and the rest of this beautiful village. It's mostly housing, but there are some allotments on the right hand side. I imagine there will be a few viewers pleased to see these. You know who you are. Barrowby, by the way, is a small hamlet between Kirkby and Cherchebi. It's believed, although it can't be proven, that the name is an indication of a burial mound somewhere in the vicinity. Some suggest this area could well have been populated as far back as 3,000 years ago. Now, I was expecting at this point to see the views I promised you at the beginning. This though is the best you're going to get. The more and more you head into the centre of Kirkby, the bigger the houses become. Upon reaching the centre, you come to the biggest ones yet. I'm not totally sure about the poshest village claim, but you certainly can't deny that Kirkby Overblow is worthy of its status as a conservation area. We'll skip the biggest and most important landmarks in the centre for now and head along Swindon Lane next. Swindon is a small hamlet to the west, also within Kirkby's boundaries. Okay, so now we've reached the church, as you can see on the camera here. Now, we're not actually going to look at this just yet. That's going to be the last thing, or one of the last things on the walk. What we're doing first is we're heading along the road in the way we've been going. We're looking for a well. There are plenty of wells around Kirkby Overblow, ancient wells. Now, apparently there's one just up here on the left-hand side. Let's see if we can spot it. Now, at this point, I'm probably going to look pretty stupid to those that know Kirkby Overblow well. On my map, the site of St Helen's Well is marked as being somewhere in this field by the roadside. It's not, but it isn't that far away. It is in fact in a small recess next to a house directly over the road. Legend has it, the well has healing powers and could have been one of the locally important sacred sites in pre-Christian times. There's also Warehole's Well, near a footpath from the church to Armscliff Crag. Time to follow another footpath next up to the north of the village. It's montage time. Now we've reached Follyfoot Lane, and for the next few moments we pass by some farms and their associated outbuildings. Farming is economically important here now, but iron smelting seems to have been part of Kirkby's industrial history, hence the name Overblow or Oreblow. One clue to the village's ironworking past comes here, in the form of an old forge located further along Follyfoot Lane. Next to this is an old post office. Kirkby has had two of them. This one succeeded an earlier post office which was located in Floral Cottage next door to the Shoulder of Mutton pub. Next we have All Saints Church of England Primary School. Originally built in 1782, this school has a long-standing association with the church. Some features have since been upgraded and replaced since the 18th century, but essentially it's the same building. It must then be one of the oldest in Yorkshire that's still in use. Once past the school, we're heading towards the end of Walton Head Lane. Close to the end of that road is Tithe Cottage. One of its upstairs rooms was used as a mortuary, and it's apparently haunted, according to a former resident. Close by, there was also a joiner's shop too. Well, you can't deny, in true Harrogate fashion, this place has definitely got some lovely old stone cottages, hasn't it? We're so used to seeing them in this part of the world, aren't we? There's loads here, and this northern end of the village is basically all about them. It's not really all that interesting, to be honest, is it? However, that's all about to change, because we are heading now into the village centre, and you can see down there, there it is. There's a pub you can see on the left hand side. There's also a pub on the right hand side too. There's two of them, and the church is down there as well. Let's go and check them out. Next, let's talk pubs, and Kirkby has two of them. First up is the Shoulder of Mutton. Built in 1880, this retains much of its original Victorian charm to this day and looks every inch the traditional Yorkshire inn that it is. I love the gold lettering which stands out above its ancient leaded sash windows. Over the road on the wall of a bus shelter is a map of the village with several historical factoids around its edge. This is well worth a read if you've got the time. If you do, you might find my TVI card on the adjacent parish notice board. Tick off Kirkby Overblow, everyone. That's 32 down in Harrogate. Although this is a bus shelter, there's no bus that serves it nowadays. Mind you, the shelter is notable for its artwork. At the back is a mural which was painted during the COVID lockdown in June 2020 by Kim Coley, an artist with quite the portfolio. Her inspiration was the wildflowers that grow nearby. Let's move on to the second pub. The Star and Garter is currently closed and has been for several years. However, it's still been in business, albeit in a very illegal way. In 2023, North Yorkshire Police raided this disused pub because it was being used as a massive cannabis farm. Now we come around the corner where we see the old rectory. This is a surefire way to know we're near a church, and we are. Here we are at All Saints Church, the earliest part of which is the 14th century transept, marked on old maps as St Helen's Chapel. That explains the name of the Holy Well nearby. Between 1778 and 1803, the tower was largely rebuilt and fitted with a new clock, which is said to have the longest pendulum in Yorkshire. At the same time, the chancel was re-roofed and repaved, and a new porch was built. The latest renovations came in 2010. Let's go inside and have a look. So we'll have a quick look around in here. As you can see, there are no pews in this one. It's all modern seating with modern tables. Unusual, shall we say. Let's have a quick look around at the walls. So we've got a memorial here with a poppy wreath. This is obviously something to do with the war, and it is. It is a war memorial for the First World War. There's probably one for the Second somewhere. Not quite sure where yet. If we find it, we'll have a look at it. There's a few tablets on the wall up here. This one is to do with Joe Ridsdale, and also of Emma, widow of the above, a benefactress to this church. So we've got a couple of stained glass windows. Got one here. Nice blue carpet underneath our feet at this point. There we go. It's too dark to read what that one says. So this is the east window, and this says here, the east window is erected in memory of the men connected with Dunkeswick who fell in the Great War, 1914 to 1919. There you go. Looking good. So we've got a couple of other tablets here. This one's for Howard Ackroyd, church warden, between 1938 and 1978. There are 3 brass tablets here. Thomas Lister Ingham of Low Hall, and again, oh, that's Sarah, that's his widow, the middle one, and then Walter Skelton Hudson of Low Hall. So 3 former residents of Low Hall there. Let's head this way into the chancel. This one is for Charles Hancock, rector of Spofforth, rector of Kirkby Overblow, and also the vicar of Wetherby at various points in the 19th and 20th century. And down here we have another window above the altar. I think actually that's more likely to be the east window, thinking about it, because just sort of getting my bearings here and memorising the map while I'm stood here, I think we are facing east at this point. It would make sense because most churches face east, don't they? So I think that is actually the east window that the tablet was referring to at the other one. It should really be hung there then, shouldn't it? But who knows? Okay, so now we're back at Corner Cottage where we were earlier, and that is the walk around Kirkby Overblow. We're not quite done with this episode just yet. We still have to cover Dunkeswick, which also falls within the parish of Kirkby Overblow. And that's down towards Harewood. You might remember we mentioned Dunkeswick before in the East Keswick episode, because there were 2 Keswicks, and this one's just over the border of the Leeds border. So we'll drive down there, and that will finish this episode off. To finish with, we have the hamlet of Dunkeswick, which lies between the A61 and the village of Wheaton, which we covered some time ago now. This place is essentially just one long road with some scattered houses and farms, but there is a big slice of history here too. Dunkeswick contains the remains of Rougemont Castle, a mound that lies in a wood on the northern bank of the River Wharfe. It was originally held by the king, but eventually wound up in the possession of the Delisle family, who gained the lordship of Harewood in 1246. The site was abandoned in 1366 when Harewood Castle was built. Also in the vicinity is a fine packhorse bridge. Rougemont can be visited, even though it's on private land. To do so, you need to contact the Snowdon family, who live in the last house in Dunkeswick, travelling towards Wheaton. For us though, we're going to go the other way, up the A61 and towards Harrogate for the next one. Get ready for some more big hills in the forthcoming episode. Thanks for watching this video, folks. Don't forget to like this episode if you haven't already. It really makes a difference with YouTube. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us a share too if you've got friends who'd like it. You can find all the links to my social media accounts below, as well as my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can donate to the channel. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, have a look at some more videos in this series. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.